FameLab. So maybe some of you have already heard about this competition, and maybe for some of you, it might be your first experience of FameLab. So I'm going to ask Niamh Allen, Country Director of the British Council, to give us a little bit more detail about what FameLab is all about. Niamh Allen.
FameLab 2021. How far we have come since the very first FameLab, which started in 2005 as part of the Cheltenham Science Festival. The British Council became the official partner for FameLab in 2007, which then enabled FameLab to go global. Through our FameLab program, we have trained thousands of early career researchers in science communication and enabled them to describe their work to a broad audience. We continue to increase the impact of this work by training more and more academic and research staff and extending and improving the visibility of science communication through events such as this. Now, more than ever, we need to harness the power of people all over the world to connect and collaborate through culture and education to combat the many, many challenges that we are faced with globally. Taking research out of the lab through public engagement is essential to reach diverse audiences and to instill trust in science to tackle these challenges, in particular, climate change. And FameLab is just one vehicle for doing this. Taking the research out of the lab. We need to make it accessible to everyone, which is why, of course, FameLab International seeks to find and support the world's most talented new science communicators. Did you know that to date, more than 40,000 students, scientists and engineers have taken part, and today, of course, we have 8 more contestants to add to this number. We can't wait to find out which one of you will win over the judges and audience this afternoon and be our national winner to represent Mauritius. I'm very excited to listen to all your speeches and learn lots of new information, I'm sure. Best of luck, everyone.
Thank you, Niamh. So the concept of FameLab is very simple. 3 minutes. Each of the participants will have exactly 3 minutes to present a topic of scientific value in front of you. It can be from any of the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. At 2.5 minutes, they will hear this sound. There you go. That will be heard at exactly 2.5 minutes. And at 3 minutes, you'll hear another sound. And that will be your cue to stop. If you go beyond, like 5-10 seconds more, but I'll definitely cut you off. At the end of those 3 minutes, they will have an additional 3 minutes of question time from our judges. The participants cannot use any PowerPoint. They will be armed only with their wits and the possibility of taking a prop with them that can help this speech. For our judges, let us have a look who they are. So we have Dr. Mahendra Gurucharan. So Dr. Gurucharan is a senior lecturer in the Mechanical and Production Engineering Department at the University of Mauritius. He is a chartered engineer registered with the Engineering Council of UK, an accredited green building design and construction professional registered with USGBC. And second, we have Captain Andy Godwin, who is the CEO and founder of the Genius Press Group, a next-gen organization which provides innovative technology solutions for multinational organizations. Captain Godwin is also a fully qualified airline captain, an accomplished jazz saxophonist, and a recipient of Her Majesty's Certificate of Exceptional Conduct for his role in the security services. Our third judge is Adila Kodovacs. She is a senior lecturer in international relations at Middlesex University, Mauritius, and has been teaching about international relations, humanitarianism, and communication techniques since 2013. She set up the Learning Enhancement Unit at the Mauritius campus of Middlesex University and coaches students in different programs on improving their academic writing and oral presentation skills. She co-founded the Center for African Smart Public Value Governance, which is a collaborative initiative with the University of Bern, Switzerland, seeking to enhance smart public practices in African countries. So I'm going to ask you, Mahendra, what is one criteria on which you're going to be basing your selection of the winner?
So among the your criteria we'll be assessing you is one of them is content. You will be assessed on your ability to do STEM communication. So the content is going to relate basically, of course, to one of the fundamentals, be it science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. So this should be clearly spelled out in your presentation. What are you relating to? It could be one or a combination of them, because we know it's multidisciplinary sometimes. That's what you're expecting from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahendra. Captain Andy can give us another criteria on which you will be choosing your favorite among the participants.
Indeed. So from my point of view, I think charisma, believability, dynamism, that's kind of what I'm hoping to see when y'all present your subjects. Do you believe what you're telling us? So this is something that's very important. We can have great content, but if there is no dynamism, if there's no passion behind it, then it's a little bit difficult to convince somebody else. So from my point of view, charisma is something that's quite critical in this activity today. So I look forward to hearing your great deliverables, and you all relax and enjoy this too.
And maybe Adila can tell us about a third criteria that we're going to be basing our judgment on.
So another third criteria we are looking at is clarity. Clarity in your message, a clear message which is confidently delivered and that perhaps avoids ambiguity. At the end of your presentation, there should be a central, strong takeaway message, which is a memorable one for your audience. I'm really looking forward to your presentations, and I wish all presenters all the best.
We have a fourth judge, and that is you. And you, all of you actually. The audience members will also be voting today, so we're going to have two winners. We're going to be having one winner chosen by the judges, and we're going to have an audience vote at the end of the 8 presentations. So our first participant is Akish. Akish works in the field of information security, and he calls himself the Sherlock Holmes of his workplace. His job is to find loopholes and vulnerabilities in information systems. Akish has a vision of a world filled with innovative businesses, open-minded people who constantly strive for the best. Let's see what Sherlock Holmes is going to present today for us. Akish?
So I'm a foodie, I love food, and this is actually my best friend. The other day I was at the restaurant with a bunch of friends. We were out eating pizza. And while they were digging and diving into the pizza, I stopped and asked myself, why did I crave for that pizza? Why did I care for it? Why do I feel like I'm being targeted or being chained by it? What is the secret ingredient to which companies are making multi-billion dollars on our heads? Ladies and gentlemen, the answer is simple. It is sugar. What a pleasant place to be talking about sugar. In fact, it was researched by Professor Miskovitz that sugar is addictive as cocaine. When you mix sugar, salt, fats into your body, it creates the ultimate sensation of pleasure, the feeling of euphoria, the feeling of increasing energy. We're talking about addiction. Therefore, I am an addict as well. But the idea of addiction that we all have is wrong. We have been doing addiction, we have taken addiction for centuries ago off of a simple experiment where you put a rat in a cage and you give it 2 options, normal water or drug water, which is laced with cocaine or heroin. The rat always almost preferred the drug water and died. Then came Professor Bruce Alexander that came and said that this does not reflect our social life. We are not isolated, and we do not have only 2 choices. He redesigned this whole concept and created something he called the rat park, which is basically heaven for rats, where you have lots of friends, lots of toys, lots of cheese, eventually lots of sex, which reflects us. What he saw that, the fascinating thing is that within the rat park, the heaven for rats, they didn't like the drug water. We jump from 100% overdose to nearly 0% overdose. So today my message is that instead of talking about addiction being self-recovery, we should be talking about addiction about social recovery. Addiction is not about our social hooks. Addiction is about our cage. Next time you saw someone, you should be telling them, I like to deepen the connection between us. I like you, and I love you, brothers and sisters. Let's not mix up where this society has come. Let's build this cage, this rat park where we are all together and building up a better world. Because in this society, we are fighting against them. We are putting barriers between drugs, criminals, or addictions. So my message is that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is actually love. Thank you.
I'm really fascinated with this presentation. One of the things I liked is that you took us from the familiar to your subject. And so for me, that really resonated with me. That's the first point I want to make.
My question is, what made you feel inspired to use the rat park analogy?
Because we are living in a world where actually Mauritius or all the countries around the globe, we are punishing drug addicts. We are name-shaming them. We are printing criminal records. They can't connect to the society. So there must be a way out. In fact, if we look at it, why I chose this topic, because Portugal actually in the year 2000 did that same experiment. They were the highest population using drugs usage in the whole Europe. What they did is that the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition came in together and said, let's change this whole system. Let's look at the heaven of the rats. And where they did that, instead of putting them into prison, they invested massively into bringing them to society. Then they created jobs, bring them into society. And fascinatingly, the drug usage of Portugal, we can't hear it today. They don't have it. It's minimal.
You have presented your STEM application in terms of drugs. Is it also relevant for any other real-life situation in our society?
In fact, yes, because if we take the example of last week or the other day when Facebook went down, we are all addicts of our phone. I've got friends, since I'm in this cybersecurity field, I've got friends calling me, Akish, what had happened? Why is it down? Akish, I need to face call you. What should I do? But be it burger, be it donut, be it pizza, be it our phone, be it I'm here. There is a form of addiction that we have, and we can combat that by being connected and having a happy life.
Is it a good thing then to be addicted to? Is it a good thing?
I'd say that it comes with the disadvantages and advantages. The most disadvantage that I can say about addiction is that I don't want to be amongst the rats that are dying. I want to be among the people that are spending their life happily connected and being among the group of friends, having the cheese, having the toys, being happy.
So if I may just ask one simple question. In terms of addiction, how do you see cause and effect? What is the cause that's leading to addiction? And from your presentation, what would be a natural step to start to bring this under control?
My causes of addiction, right? My causes of addiction will be that we are living in a cage where we have been upbringing, where we have been brought up by the family, this surrounding, this environment that we are put in, that created the addiction. Where my mother gave me the phone at age 3, that creates an addiction to me. What should have been done? That we should educate people more into what type of addiction can be form part in this society. Be it smoking. If you're using a pack of cigarettes and you're not, if a student going to college or university and smoking, and the mother do not care at all, it will eventually cause a form of addiction. So my causes will be, it starts from the family, then it comes to the educational system, and of course it will come to myself connecting to other people.
Thank you, Akish. That was really wonderful. So our second participant is Ashley Guljar. Ashley is a biology teacher, and he works at the Northfields International School. He has spent the last 10 years teaching biology, maths, IT, and general science. Through his teaching years, Ashley has chosen to share the gift of science education to underprivileged children by providing them with academic and moral support. Ashley is dedicated at sharing his love for science with his students. Today, he's here to share it with us.
Guys, summer is coming, and I'm impatient. Impatient for a really, really hot mango salad. Now, first imagine a bowl of mango salad, green with chili. Now, imagine yourself eating it. How do you feel? Your heart starts racing. You're sweating, some of you even crying. But most importantly, you feel the burn, okay? And what happens is that you love it. You love that burn. Now, as you've guessed it, today I'm going to talk about one molecule that's got 1/3 of the world's population hooked on. And that molecule is capsaicin. Capsaicin is a molecule that causes a burn when you bite on a chili. Capsaicin activates a special receptor in your tongue called TRPV1. The TRPV1 is the same molecule that is activated when you're shopping in Port Louis under scorching sun. Yes, TRPV1 is a heat receptor. When capsaicin binds with TRPV1, it creates an electric signal that goes to your brain and tricks it into believing that your tongue is literally on fire. Now, your brain goes into panic mode. It creates corrective measures. And these corrective measures might be your heart rate goes up, your face starts flushing, and what happens is that vasodilation happens, trying to evacuate that heat, which is really not there. Weirdly enough, humans are one of the only species that has the ability to derive pleasure from this pain. But why? Dr. Rosen from the University of Pennsylvania coined the term benign masochism. And this is a weird phenomenon, guys. Benign masochism is when you derive pleasure, okay, out of a negative situation. Right. Now, when capsaicin, when you bite on a chili, adrenaline is produced by your body. This provides you with a thrill. Then endorphin is produced by your brain. This calms down the pain. And finally, dopamine is produced. And this gives you that sense of pleasure. Now, guys, for a final bit of science, if you've eaten a chili and you want a quick relief from it, think of it. Capsaicin is a fat-soluble molecule. Water won't solve it. In fact, milk and even olive oil will help you relieve the pain. Thank you.
In your presentation, you mentioned the word negative. So is it really negative to eat chili?
There are many research in terms of that is going on. In fact, chili, the molecule capsaicin, is being researched nowadays in terms of it being an anti-inflammatory substance, okay? In fact, when people eat chili, they think that it is an inflammatory substance. In fact, it is the other way around. It is anti-inflammatory, and often it causes the reversal of inflammation. So, yes, it can be negative in terms of how you're feeling, but not in the way how it's behaving inside of your body.
Okay, but generally, if we eat hot food, we tend to get stomach disorders and so on. So how would you explain that?
Let me tell you. You remember the TRPV1 I was talking about? That TRPV1 is not only found on your tongue. It is found in your stomach, but also in your bum also, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's the reason. Yep.
Well, that was really insightful. So I'm interested in the benign condition that
Yes.
you mentioned.
Benign Masochism.
So how is that playing out more and more in modern day society, and is it something that we need to be aware of?
Oh, we do benign masochism like every day. Someone going for bungee jumping, okay? That's benign masochism because you know that there is a danger, okay? You know that there is a danger, but then as you face that danger, your brain understands it's safe. And as it understands it's safe, it releases dopamine. And dopamine gives you that pleasure. So a mixture of adrenaline and dopamine gives you that kick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
So where do you see your research in the future?
All right. So there are many fields that are right now involving the TRPV1 or the TRP family of receptors. As I've told you, the TRP family they are involved in heat reception. Okay, so many research is going on that field in terms of cancer research because we found TRP family receptors on cancer cells. So it might be in terms of maybe a heat procedure that might target those TRP family receptors. So it is quite vast. Okay.
Moving on to our third participant, Kushala Gopal. He is a student in cybersecurity. Kushal is an avid learner, curious about everything, but especially passionate about space. He believes that anyone could have a crazy idea that could potentially change the world, but many choose not to take risks. And to them, Kushal says, better live with remorse than with regret. Well, let's see what crazy idea Kushal has to share with us today. Let's welcome our third participant.
When I say the word smoker, who comes to mind? How is that person? Is he happy, sad, rich, or poor? Me, personally, when I hear the word smoker, my friend Bradley comes to mind. Now, Bradley is highly educated, very successful, and happy in life. But he is a smoker. This got me thinking, why do people who obviously know the drawbacks of smoking still smoke? To answer my question, I had to look first on how addiction works and why do people start doing drugs. Most people do drugs like cocaine, crack, and meth as a form of escapism. But one hit and they're addicted. But what about this cigarette? What about the nicotine in it? If you ask any ex-smoker, they will tell you that one puff is not enough to get addicted. Therefore, you might think that nicotine is weak, but it is precisely why it is one of humans' biggest addiction. Nicotine is not like other drugs. When someone is smoking, he's not smoking to escape, he's smoking as a distraction. Smoking, according to research, nicotine, as a result, is a nootropic. It helps to boost mental capabilities. I don't know if people have used it. Ex-smokers might confirm it with you. But when they smoke, they get that little edge over the competitors. So how do we stop smoking? How do we prevent these people who know that smoking is bad? Well, if you look at it, our understanding of addiction comes from studying harder drugs. But smoking, like I said, is different. Experts say we remove the time we smoke. I don't know if any of you have worked in the call centers. I personally have, and I've seen it. People have their own time to smoke. And ex-smokers say to go cold turkey. Just quitting it just like this, and never thinking about it. But what about it? Why is there nicotine patches? Why is there vaping pen for that? So today, I want you all to think of how we can remove this addiction to our society. How can we eliminate it? Thank you.
Your research, where is it focused and what is the direction of that research that you're doing on this subject of the addiction of nicotine?
You're talking about my research?
Yes.
Actually, I was doing a research. I'm doing a tally like this for noticing how people smoke, actually. And I've noticed that the higher IQ or the younger age, the more they smoke. And this made me wonder why they smoke, why they continue to smoke. They have the reason to know that smoking kills, but why do they still smoke? And my friend, and I look at him, this came to mind.
And you've used a cigarette as your prop.
A fake one.
Yeah. Oh, a fake one.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I didn't know that. So, so do you think it's the best way to explain the science behind your research by using this prop?
Yes, I think as humans are visual species, when they see the cigarettes, they obviously think of nicotine. The campaigns against smoking has said nicotine is bad, cigarette is bad, all the and etc. I think people, when they see a cigarette, they know what is inside. And when I show the cigarette, they understand it.
My question would be, you mentioned you work in a call center, so you've seen the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
How far is peer pressure one factor in maintaining people to smoke?
Peer pressure, I would say it takes place in teenagers mostly. In call centers, it was quite different. In call centers, when you see your friends smoke, they don't force you to smoke, obviously, they don't force you to smoke, but you feel left out. And almost not exactly peer pressure, but your own subconscious tells you to smoke.
Okay, and you mentioned in your presentation that one factor is enhanced performance, so you perform
Yes.
better. So using that aspect, what would you recommend so that we replace that effect of nicotine? What can be done to still maintain performance but not have the adverse effect of smoking?
As medicine is advancing day by day, new nootropics are being made. There are caffeine, for example, which boosts mental capabilities. And that's it.
Thank you, Kushala. A round of applause for Kushala. Thank you. Moving on to our fourth participant, Manisha Parsat Ramchan. She is a pharmacist who graduated with a first-class master's degree from King's College London and has 13 years of experience in pharmacy, retail, wholesale, and hospital sectors, both in the UK and Mauritius. Manisha is currently an assistant professor at the GSS Academy, where she teaches pharmaceutical analysis to B.Pharm students and engages in research projects.
The imposter from Among Us the game could be a life changer. Strange, you'd think, not really. COVID-19, the pandemic that's shaking the world, and the culprit, a virus, SARS-CoV-2. Vaccines have been pouring in, certainly, but treatment to actually kill the virus have been almost unheard of. If I tell you right now, there is a new drug to kill SARS-CoV-2, and it goes by the name Molnupiravir. A bit of a mouthful, I understand, but a powerful candidate it is. To understand how this drug is working, let's first of all enter the world of viruses. Our SARS-CoV-2, first of all, needs a host cell, which in this case is a human cell, attaches itself to its host cell. Secondly, the genetic material on the virus acts as a template where units of protein will come and get attached. One sequence of coding molecules leads to a unique sequence of units leading to a unique protein, which in this case is a new virus. Change the sequence, everything changes. Just like arranging letters in a certain order gives rise to a word, change the arrangement of letters, everything falls apart. Using this concept now, designing such a molecule that looks fairly similar to one of these coding molecules that the virus thinks it's one of its own, incorporates it in its genome. But the bug stops there. because this molecule has a slight change in its structure like this. This molecule is no coding molecule. It will not let any new unit of protein and come and join in. The imposter will have done its job, has already infiltrated the camp of the enemy. Now, because no replication can happen, errors happen, catastrophe happens. The imposter sabotages the whole system. Replication stops, infection stops. This drug is called molnupiravir. Currently has passed phase 1 trial, undergoing phase 2 trials, and the best part, ladies and gentlemen, is the only drug that can be swallowed as a pill. So it's proving to be really promising indeed in our fight against this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha, and I really hope what you're talking about is really promising and we can use it to deal with the pandemic. You mentioned about this new way of dealing with the virus.
Yes.
What about the thing you were saying with variants means the virus would tend to fight back. So the effect of variants means when you try to fight the virus, it's going to react. Yeah. So based on the solution you propose?
So the thing is, it's entering the genome of the virus, which is the genetic code, which what we call RNA, ribonucleic acid. And that will apply for all the variants. In fact, molnupiravir has already passed its phase 1 and phase 2 trials. And because of this efficacy, it's already being it's going to be marketed very soon because it's proven that it's reducing infection.
Okay, is there any figures you have in mind about the efficacy?
Yes, 50% effective. And of course, it's on, when we say phase 1 and phase 2 trials, it's small groups, but small groups of people already positive with COVID-19, already showing symptoms like fever, sore throat, and they are showing that we can stop the infection and not progress into severe form of the disease.
Thank you very much, Manisha.
Thank you.
Beyond the scientific community, what is the key takeaway message of your research?
Key takeaway message is that there is an there is hope if someone is severely ill with COVID-19, if people are scared of the vaccines. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Science is progressing fast. Drugs are coming on the market. And best of all, if people are scared of, nose swabs or throat swabs or injections, this one is a pill to swallow twice a day for 5 days. So we're hoping to reach more people like that, hopefully combat the pandemic together.
Hey, Manisha, that was really insightful. As somebody who is insanely fascinated with data science, my question is, how does the law of large numbers apply to the sampling that you guys are working on right now?
So the sampling is done on small numbers, but of course it's like on volunteers. Phase 1 is healthy volunteers. Phase 2 is patients who are testing positive but are still okay. And obviously it will be rolled out to patients who are severely ill. So we will go, yes, of course it's small numbers, but because of the urgency of the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And how varied is the universe that you are sampling right now? Is it just one ethnic group, or are there multivariant ethnic groups so that we understand how this...
Yes. Trials are being conducted in India, in America, in Brazil, in different parts of the world, with people of different ethnicities, different genetic genetic makeup. So yes, it is targeting the different groups of people, and different age groups as well. So as young people, old people. The only people not being tested are pregnant women, or women who are of childbearing age and who are not using contraception. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Manisha.
Thank you.
Our fifth participant is Retima Ratwa. She is a mechanical engineer with a master's degree in building services engineering. She has been trained in industrial environment, worked on production issues, maintenance of heavy machineries, water distribution and energy consumption systems in the textile industry. She shows interest in renewable energy, material science, and tribology, which is the science of friction, wear, and lubrication. She intends to pursue her research at the doctoral level with the aim of improving people's lives. With her wide range of experience in engineering and vast field of interest, let us discover what Retima has chosen to share with us today.
Sea, sun, and sun. That is what Mauritius is famous for. I remember I was sitting by the seaside and watching the sunset. And all of a sudden, I saw a plastic cup floating on the seawater. Gross. If we think of this vessel as being our planet's water, then the 1% fresh water which is available and accessible for consumption would be this much. And this is depleting at an alarming rate due to pollution and climate change. By 2050, it is estimated that 4 billion will face shortage of water. Do you want to be part of that? I don't. Fortunately, we still have plenty of water in our oceans, but unfortunately, drinking a single cup of it can be fatal to our bodies. This is when we need to call for desalination. Desalination is the process of removing salt from seawater to produce fresh water. And one of the techniques used is distillation, which is pretty much the processes that go in similar vessels like these around us. Distillation requires a source of heat energy, and steam is mainly used. So here's how the processes go about. Seawater is pumped from the sea into a storage vessel. A pipe carries the seawater into a special vessel called the distilling vessel. From there, the water travels into a heat exchanger. The seawater travels into a tube inside the heat exchanger. So, steam is input in the steam exchanger and transfers its heat energy to the seawater. The heated seawater travels back to the distillation vessel and settles at the bottom of it. There, the water molecules get enough energy because the conditions of the vessel of pressure and temperature make it possible for the water molecules to evaporate and reach the top of the vessel. The water vapor hits the cold tubes that pass through the vessel at the top and condense on a dish. Here is our fresh water produced and collected in another tank. But behind the scenes, there is a lot of fossil fuel. As you know, this is very polluting. And I'm sure that none of you want to live through another experience of oil spill like the Wakashu. This is when we need to think about using renewable energies. Mauritius is blessed with abundant sunshine. And my research traded fossil fuels in for solar energy, and it was applied in two different ways. First, instead of using steam, hot water was generated via an array of a lot of solar water heaters to create the heat energy to evaporate the seawater. Secondly, the solar rays were made to incident on the vessel and increase the temperature inside to actually cause the water to evaporate at a faster rate. So ladies and gentlemen, to our cup of fresh, sustainable, desalinated water, cheers.
So my question is really about the renewable feature of your solution. Now, we've heard about solar panels, and very often what we're told is that some of the components of the solar panel itself is not very eco-friendly when you break those panels down. So from your research, what are you looking at to kind of overcome that issue?
Well, actually, the components of the solar panel itself, I'm not familiar. I've not really researched into this, so I cannot really. But I think this stands for ground for me to go and look for it, because what passionates me actually, it was about harnessing the solar energy to produce the water actually, just to eliminate the use of fossil fuels.
Indeed, that's right. And the reason I asked the question was because this has been one of the reasons why today there's some people who are not so okay with the current solution for renewable energy, because they feel that when you break those things down, they are also a cause of problems to the environment. So I was just keen to see, but I like your answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, just to comment on your question again, I think this is, there are research being done in material development. Maybe we can find a better material actually to cater for this and to actually eliminate the problem of pollution due to this.
Thank you, Retima. So my question is, how can you use your research in order to motivate wider society to move away from fossil energy towards renewable energy? what can be a message that you can give?
Yes, actually, we all know about the problems that we have with fossil fuels. There is the air pollution, the water pollution due to spills, and there's also the fossil fuels which are depleting as well, because these are reserves inside the earth that ultimately will go away. But the sun is here like for billions of years, so if we harness energy from the sun, which is still available here, and the energy, like we say, renewable energies, like from the sun, from the water, from the wind, they are clean energy because there is no direct carbon emission.
Your talk is really about climate action, so I think you're in that field. So you've sort of given a solution for dealing with scarcity about fresh water. Have you thought of other ways? Because it seems you're recommending desalination of seawater, and we have plenty of seawater. Is that the most effective way, according to you, to deal with this problem?
No, it is not the most effective way, because it is not the only way. The first way to deal with this problem is conservation of water, is to stop wastage, to sensitize people, to tell them not to waste water. I watched a documentary the other time that in Cape Town, actually, they had this problem where the source of fresh water was depleting. It remained only very, very few water. So how they came about to get that reservoir get filled again, so they sensitized people about wastage. And people, instead of showering twice a day, they showered once a day. And this created a very huge impact. So sensitizing people about wastage, maybe reviewing of our daily lives and production methods just to conserve water instead of using more water, because it takes, taking this plastic cup as an example, it takes a lot of water in the processes to make it. So we have to review these things. Then desalination, of course, is considered as an ultimate solution to the problem.
And to what you're proposing, just briefly, have you looked at the economics as well of this?
Yes, of course. And desalination is a very expensive method, especially if you're using fossil fuels, because it involves a lot of investment, a lot of fuel, a lot of maintenance, you see. And using solar energy, this will reduce the cost of maintenance, actually. So you already have a way of cutting down the cost. So also, you do not have to purchase fossil fuels where sun power is abundantly available. So this cuts down on the cost of fuel. Okay? What will be the cost of investment is more the material to intercept the solar power. But according to my research, what I made, it depended on what amount, what scenario we were in. So I used a scenario where we were to supply water to a small village together with a hotel resort. The hotel resort will sell this water, and this is one of the ways that we can have the money to pay back for this project. Thank you.
Her name is Yusra Bibi Romali. She is a PhD student in the Department of Mathematics at the University of Mauritius. She holds a first-class bachelor's degree in mathematics with computer science. Her PhD work is oriented in the field of applied mathematics, that is, mathematical modeling, dynamical systems, optimization, and genetic algorithms. Her focus is in the modeling of public health problems, namely the consumption of illicit drugs in the population. Recipient of several prestigious scholarships like Bourse d'Excellence du gouvernement français, Top-Up Higher Education Commission Scholarship, and laureate of the project Hubert Curien Le Réduit, Yusra is now working as a part-time lecturer at the Faculty of Engineering of the University of Mauritius. Can maths be used to solve a drug problem? Well, Yusra suddenly has something to say about that.
What if I tell you about a persisting epidemic which is destroying homes and ruining our youth? Are you thinking about COVID-19? You are wrong. There is one which is worse, one of the biggest global challenges, illicit drug consumption. If I approach you with white powder in my hand, I invite and convince you to taste it. Don't worry, this is baby powder. This is the first step of peer influence. Drug users involve 4 categories: non-users, experimental users, recreational users, and addicts. This network of drug users influencing each other forms a dynamical system. A system that changes over time depending on the interactions, peer pressure between these categories. In order to predict the evolution of these categories, we need to conduct experiments. But who among us would like to be a guinea pig? Listen, I don't see anyone here, neither me who would be a volunteer. This is where mathematical modeling comes into play. Yes, mathematical modeling. I'm sure you are wondering how mathematics can solve this problem. Don't worry, my thesis and myself, we are already sailing the boat. Obviously, not the boat that we saw over there. I've set up a dynamical system with these 4 categories, N, E, R, A. We call it NERA. NERA uses the present population of each category and predicts their evolution over time, making it a forecasting tool. One question that is probably on your mind right now: how do I know that NERA works? Well, in 2012, Washington legalized the recreational use of marijuana. NERA predicted accurately the population of marijuana users post the legalization. NERA showed, more importantly, NERA showed that had they enacted campaigns of prevention 1 year before the legalization, their marijuana user population would have been reduced by 12%. Ladies and gentlemen, the clock is ticking. If we remain unguarded, illicit drug abuse will invisibly invade our society. Let's be proactive. Let's use NERA to identify the dynamics of illicit drug use and implement measures to curb it. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusra.
Thank you.
From the NERA model you've talked about,
Yes.
have you done any study for Mauritius? We know we are trying to legalize drugs and so on. Have you tried to do any study?
Definitely. Definitely, very soon we will apply it to the Mauritian context because of an eventual legalization that is presently hotly debated about the recreational use of marijuana. But the fact that I have done this study on Washington before because they have already legalized marijuana there. That's why we wanted to know, to gauge or assess the impact of legalization there. For us to apply the NERA model to the Mauritian context, we need to collect data in a similar way as Washington have done. And very soon we are proposing to do that at national level in collaboration with the University of Mauritius, of course.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Yusra?
Yes.
So this is my world you're talking about. So we are going to have some fun. So
yes. I'm sure. I hope so.
I love models. So my question is really twofold. One of the problems with models is something we call biases, confirmation bias, data snooping bias, and a few of those things.
Yes.
How have you ensured that the outcome of NERA's prediction is free of those bias? So there's an old saying in data science, which you probably know, to say, data is like a prisoner of war. If you torture her high enough, she'll say what you want her to say.
Yes.
So how do you eliminate these challenges? Secondly, for your back test, how far back are you going with the data that you're using to feed this model?
Very good question. That's why we have applied the NERA model to the Washington state. There are 2 processes that we need to do. It's the primary concern when we design a mathematical model. As mathematicians, we need to adopt this concept. The first step is verification. We need to verify our model. The second step is validation. How far our model predict the evolution of these categories accurately. And this is what we have done in the state of Washington. Washington legalized recreational use of marijuana in November 2012. We have used part of their data to conduct the process of verification. And then we have simulate our model to check the accuracy of our model if it predicts the evolution of these categories post the legalization. And I can assure you that our model predict the evolution of the different categories quite accurately with the actual data.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yusra. So my question is, you've mentioned that this research will be done in collaboration with university and so on.
Yes.
So you're speaking about predictive patterns and so on, and perhaps coming up, with your own findings
Yes.
for the context here. Now, beyond that, beyond university research and collaboration, where does it go next for you, for your research?
Yes, very soon we are proposing to do a national conference, inviting stakeholders and all for the policies in Mauritius, the health authorities. They know that if we want to apply the NERA model to the Mauritian context here, they need to know what I'm expecting from them, what type of data I need from them. And very soon we are proposing to do that at the national level to obtain the type of data that I have to feed in my NERA model, so that in the event of in an eventual legalization, we can already predict the evolution of these categories, and proper measures can be taken instantly to curb this proliferation in our society. Thank you.
We are now on to our 7th participant. She is Puja Synod. She is someone who says that she can cook for the body, the mind, and the country. Soon to graduate in food science and technology, minor in food entrepreneurship, and her goal is to connect people to real foods by educating them on which products are really healthy. When she's not using her creativity to communicate about food, you can find her living the dream of her feet and eyes as a classically trained Bharatanatyam dancer. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you a perfect symbiosis of science and art.
There is gold under the rocks. This is what was promised to our forefathers before coming to Mauritius centuries ago. What if I tell you that the gold is still here, present in the backyard of numerous Mauritian families, standing strong and tall, but looked down and taken for granted? However, is it a coincidence that it goes by the name of golden nugget, a variety of jackfruit? Locally present in Mauritius, this economic fruit can be utilized ripe and immature. From the resilient tree to the nutritious fruit with meat-like fibrous texture, jackfruit may become a potential source for socio-economic exploitation, can resist against impending food shortages in the forthcoming years, and can enhance food chain resilience in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. The global population is on the rise, and according to Food and Agriculture Organization, there is over 50,000 varieties of edible plants, but only 3 of them, rice, wheat, and maize, provide 60% of our world's food. The effects of climate change are worsening. Now, is it reasonable that we, the local population, can still be over-relying on these limited major crops which are grown as monocultures in a few countries only? As a food scientist who loves food and art, I have developed a novel plant-based burger using jackfruits and its seeds and other underutilized crops such as oyster mushroom, pumpkin seeds, and farina kidney beans. Diversifying the food chain by including these neglected species can be an effective tool to improve human health and nutrition while also achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. On a final note, our ancestors have left us a legacy of eating habits, traditions, cultures, which is a source of inspiration for healthy and sustainable solutions that we have to pass on to the future generation. We should rewire our thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. Considering we import 80% of our food, we should be more mindful of our resources, our golden underutilized crops. So people, let's go. We all know that this future is in our hands. Give it a try. Listen to your local crops and help the planet. Thank you. I might not go and have my burger. Oh, I forgot about the jury's question.
Puja, I like this. You're talking about food, and food is close to my heart. So we already heard something today about the taste bud. So now you're coming up with new recipes for burgers and stuff like that. How are you going to help characters like me that are carnivores adapt our taste bud to this new offering that you got?
Yes, that's a very good question. So the way I think that we have reached far from just mimicking the taste and texture of meat burgers, because I have carried out a consumer analysis and sensory acceptance test where the consumers were asked to evaluate the burger samples by looking for the flavor, taste, texture, and overall acceptability. So the comments that the consumers made were natural, authentic taste, new blend of flavors, naturally healthy and good looking. So I think that if we want to have a sustainable food for future, we need to be starting to eat new things. By that I mean that, but instead of using the mimicking strategy, we need to get plant-based their own categories in the retail stores. For instance, not addressing them that like meat alternatives. Also, like I'm saying, shelf in the retail outlets, so shelf placement is critical. There is a report that has been released from the GFI, the Good Food Institute, in 2020, which says that when plant-based burgers or products are placed next to the conventional counterparts, the consumers are better able to make their decisions, and they tend to choose plant-based burgers. So if we want to give consumers the choice that they deserve, we need to do that so that they can compare both of them. And also, the World Health Organization is saying that if we shift to plant-based diets, it can increase our essential essential vitamins and minerals, which can improve our resistance to COVID-19 by strengthening our immune system. So like I have mentioned, oyster mushroom, pumpkin seeds, all these are rich in, for example, oyster mushroom, it has rare source of vitamin D, which is not present in normally in plants-based. So
You've mentioned the Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes.
So how exactly does your research link with the SDGs? Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes, we have the SDG, no hunger, no poverty, and also there is well-being and good health. There is also responsible consumption and production. There is also for employment and job. So this burger, I've also already mentioned that it can, because they are underutilized, it can resolve the problem of food security. It can also, because now the burger constitutes of many underutilized crops that I have developed. So by encouraging farmers, our youth, our women, because these underutilized crops were described as women crops in the past. So by encouraging these people, so we will create more job opportunities, because it is a full chain of food chain, and we all relate to food.
Have you brought any burger for us to taste?
No, sadly.
How much is it going to cost compared to a normal burger?
Very good question. So we all say that plant-based burgers, which are natural, healthy, like I mentioned, wholesome, safe, they normally say that these types of food are very much higher cost to the meat burgers, for instance. So I believe that if we encourage the growth of these underutilized crops, because the meat industry has been there for over a decade now, so they have the time to improve their scalability to reach today. So if we encourage more growth of these plants, so we have to try it, then we will eventually reach the point where we can, have the price better, because we all, like I said, we all relate to food, so we all need to make this effort.
We have now reached our 8th. He is Salman Kadir. Like Kushal, Salman is also a student of cybersecurity. Curious by nature, he's eager to learn about how the world functions so that he can contribute to improving it and improving himself in the process. While learning, Salman also works as a salesman, a technician, and also a part-time barber in his brother's barber shop. A man of many talents, I might say. Salman likes to constantly challenge himself and set new goals. FameLab is certainly today a new milestone for Salman. Let's put our hands together to welcome Salman on stage.
I'm sure most of us here have heard of artificial intelligence. Some of us work in the field. But when we think of artificial intelligence, we think about self-driving cars, about personal assistants, virtual personal assistants that accompany us everywhere. We think it's the future. But that's not the case. Artificial intelligence is already present with us. It's present here on my wrist, in my phone, Face ID. That is known as weak AI. The future right now for AI is strong AI. How do we do that? That's where quantum computers come in. Quantum computers can help us to develop the AI in a certain way that typical computers could not. Typical computers use a certain storage system known as bits. That means they can be either in a state of 1 or 0. Now, quantum computers use qubits, which means they can be in 4 different states: 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and 1, 0. 4 different states, more possibilities, more storage in 1 qubit. So, how the AI will use quantum computers, you may ask? Well, to run simulations. Quantum computers can run multiple simulations at a very high speed compared to our normal mobile phones, which are very slow, compared to normal computers where we do works like Word documents and everything. The AI can learn, and let's apply it to my field, cybersecurity, okay? So let's say we are in a bank, and we need to protect from data from fraud and thieves, online hacks, spams. So how will the AI do that? It will use the quantum computer, the mechanics of the quantum computers, to research patterns, variations, how people normally react, how they get into their account, from where they get into their account, locations, what's their use of payments and everything. And thanks to that, it can help us protect ourselves against frauds, against thieves online, of course, scammers and everything. So that's how really AI will be the future for us. AI is the present, quantum AI is the future. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Salman, for your nice presentation. Enjoyed it a lot. I'm also in the field of AI, and what I want to hear from you, we know AI is about copying the human brain, really. That's the basis of it, and we know you're very far away from that.
Yes, we're very far away from that.
So you're talking about quantum computing as a means to come closer to the human brain, but how close would still we be to the human intelligence?
Well, it is reported that by 2026, we will have around 180 quantum computers in the world with a market of $2.2 million. Okay, so $1 billion, excuse me. So that's really a huge investment that's being prepared right now by companies like Google, NASA, IBM. Okay, and the way it can help is I personally think Tesla will have one soon, so that it can help assist with the car, with a self-driving car. Because right now there is already a system of self-driving car. It's just that it's not very, it's very slow. It's learning very slowly. So I believe that when quantum computers will arrive in, let's say, 5 years, Tesla will have one, and that will help them greatly. Just like it will help banks, cybersecurity firms to better combat fraud detection and, as I said, other stuff. Thank you.
Interesting subject. So I have a question on this subject, and from a security point of view, supercomputers, quantum computers, actually present a risk to the current systems that we have today.
Yes.
Because traditional, or what we call classical computers and their
Bits,
transistors
yeah.
have a lot of vulnerability.
Yes.
So from a security point of view, what are you guys looking at to ensure that this vulnerability is not exploited by rogue organizations that
you
may
mean
already
by
have,
hackers, yes.
and those who may already have quantum computers?
Well, we really can't decide that. Like, it's not going to be easy to defend against that. That's why we're going to have to use in earlier days to focus like protection, AI protecting, like on Facebook, a physical protection of AI. Then it goes to the data on the server, on the framework that protects every data. So I believe that's how we would like to proceed in the near future. That means first a quantum computer that protects data, then an AI, then the supercomputers that holds the data of Facebook and everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Salman. My question is, you've mentioned, using the example of Tesla, quantum computers coming in 5 years, and so on. So,
no, we already have a couple of quantum computers. Like I said, Google has one, NASA has a couple, IBM has one, Russia has one, China has one. So it's already here. It's just that it's really difficult to produce because we need to have a proper cooling system. The lowest point physics can hit. We need that to cool the quantum computer.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
You've actually answered a question that I had in mind, but it was about, isn't it outdated? So because you're speaking of it coming in 5 years, but you said it's already here. So my question is, where does your research actually fit in? Existing research that is ongoing on the topic?
Existing research, it's more about my field. I'm still, as I said, I'm a student of cybersecurity, so this is going to benefit me a lot. So I look on websites, scientific websites, and I learn from that, and I learn from those issues, and that's how I know about it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So there we have it. These were our 8 fabulous FameLab finalists 2021. It's now time for you, judges, to pick and choose the one person who you're going to make very happy today, and keeping in mind you're going to break 7 hearts. So I'm going to leave you to it. That, I know, is going to be a very difficult task for you, but I know you're going to do a good job out of it. Now it's time for you, audience, to cast your votes. If you have a phone and you can connect menti.com and you're going to use this code, you will have a few minutes to choose the one participant who really you think deserves to get your vote today. The juries have deliberated and we have the winners. So for the second runner-up, I'm going to ask Andy to announce the name of the second runner-up.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to announce that the second runner-up for this FameLab Ashley Gojer. Ashley Gojer.
For the first runner-up, I'm going to request Adila, Dr. Adila, to please announce the name.
First runner-up, it goes to Yusra Ruomali. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Yusra. Before moving on to the national winner, we're going to announce the audience choice. So it is the person for whom you have voted. So I'm going to ask Dr. Guruchan to please announce the audience winner.
So the audience choice is Puja Synod.
Many congratulations, Puja.
I have learned that before I'm going to announce the national winner, there is a special mention from the jury. So Captain Andy is going to do the special mention.
This is a very interesting one, ladies and gentlemen. So we had a hard time coming up with the result that you all saw. But there was somebody who also stood out in this event, and we felt that we saw their passion, their dedication, and the potential to greater things in the future. So it is my privilege to announce that as a group of judges and juries, we felt that this person deserved a special mention. Please join me in congratulating Akish Bahadur. Excellent.
And now, the national winner, FameLab 2021, calling up Neve Allen, Director, British Council Mauritius, to announce the winner.
I am delighted to announce the winner, the national winner for FameLab 2021, who will be going on to represent Mauritius, is Puja.
Winner, FameLab Mauritius 2021, Puja Synod. Put your hands together for Puja.
Thank you for this, because I think this win for me is a win for our underutilized crops that I came here to promote. So this is the first step. We all as one nation, we will promote these underutilized crops, and also behind this, I'm a big thanks to my parents, my brother, and also my coach, my mentor, Mrs. Amjad. So they are all in the audience. Thank you. And also a thank you to the FameLab team who coached me in these 2 weeks. Roshni, Hafiza, Roshan, Farhin, everyone, Ashley. So this has been very overwhelming because I didn't know if I would win or not, but my purpose was really to promote these crops. So thank you for making our underutilized crops win. Thank you.